It's time for the Chips and Salsa Show.
The only show about Latinos for Latinos. And did we mention Latinos?
It's the Latísima.
Latinos come in all flavors, shapes, and sizes. You don't have to be Latino to enjoy chips and salsa.
Everybody loves chips and salsa.
Welcome to your Chips and Salsa Show. This is Don Jorge El Alacran. And today is Tuesday, September the 5th. And we have on our show today from New Mexico, my co-host, or my previous co-host, and now she's a co-host in New Mexico with host Zeke Rodriquez. That's Lara. Alice,
we are live from Las Cruces, New Mexico. I'm Alice Lara.
I'm Zeke Rodriquez.
The Zekenator.
Yes, the Zekenator. Yeah, I like that one.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, welcome back, Zeke. And this should be a pretty good show. We're going to be talking about a couple of subjects. But first, we're going to mention a few birthdays. Alice, I'll turn that over to you. You do it so good.
Yeah, okay. I got a couple of birthdays. And if it's your birthday today or even this week, we wish you the best birthday you've ever had in your life. Today happens to be Julian Allison's birthday. And for those of you who have been following us for all these years, Julian kind of helped us get our start through Central City Radio. So happy birthday, Julian Allison. We love you. And then also my sister, Patsy Beasley, had a birthday yesterday. So I want to wish her a very, very happy birthday, belated. But yesterday we helped celebrate a little bit. It's all good.
Nice.
And any birthdays for anniversaries from you?
Me, no.
What about you, George? Anything for you, George?
I have none to announce.
All righty then. Good.
Okay. So let's get right to this. How's everything in New Mexico doing?
I think everything's good. We have a lot of the same issues we were just talking about before the show, and I'm going to toss it to Zeke a little bit here. But evidently, there are a lot of governors that want to try to get Trump off the ballot, and our own Secretary of State is looking at that as well, right?
Yeah, it's no surprise. I mean, we were the first state to have all the votes in for the last presidential election. Like it went blue for Biden first before any other state. So we are the worst state in the country. So you can imagine that we're right on board with anything crazy like that.
You know, I would say if they try to do that in a particular state, people should just write his name down, write his name down on the ballot. If they try to pull that,
The right end.
Biden.
you know.
I mean, if that were to happen, I think that's certainly something to think about.
From what I understand, the Supreme Court's already kind of got involved that they won't be able to do it. So it's kind of, from what I understand, it's kind of huff and fluff posturing. Ultimately, they won't be able to do that, but you never know.
Well, you make a good point, Zeke, and maybe a lot of it is like they know they really can't make it happen, but just talking about it,
Yeah.
It makes it a subject again.
Yeah, it's a pretty thing.
But what they don't understand, it still puts Trump in the spotlight again.
Oh, yeah. Every time they talk about him, it puts him in the spotlight. He gets free advertisement. The latest I read too was some Republicans were saying that he should drop out. Besides Christie saying it, there was some other lawyer or big shot lawyers that they were saying that it's about time that he should get off the ballot, let another person. But you know what? Over 60% of Republicans want him to run. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm backing Trump. And like I said before, even if he's indicted, I'll back him because he'll pardon himself. Or he can run the country for fun.
George, too. We all know as Republicans, the last elected Republican president is the leader of the Republican Party.
Yeah.
So he is still the leader of our Republican Party.
Exactly.
I think people forget about that. And some of the latest polls too, they're really like neck and neck, Biden and him, right?
Well, that's what they're saying that, but I don't believe it. I don't believe that poll because I cannot see Biden neck and neck with Trump. It's a senile old man versus
Yes. That's the word.
An older person running for president in Trump, but still Trump has all of his senses, and Trump could debate him without teleprompters, and that's how Trump is, and that tells you a lot about him. And he's
just the fact that they even allow to be in the news a poll that would say they're so close, it makes me think, wow, that must mean, like you say, George, it's different. He is more ahead than they will let on.
And even DeSantis, he had a poll and put DeSantis at 21 or some ridiculous amount when it was his own campaign ran that poll. And the most they can get him up to, well, no, it wasn't 21, it was 17% versus Trump. And even his own committee can't go over 17%. That tells you a lot, you know, and DeSantis is supposed to be in second place, but I don't know.
It is very telling.
He got a boost right now because of this hurricane, and he was on the news a lot. And he did diss Biden. You know, he didn't want to meet with Biden when Biden came to tour the hurricane area. People like that. People like his veracity, but it's just posturing. You know, let him get on the stage and talk about economics. You know, talk about unemployment. Talk about the wars all around the world. You know. Trump will debate you up and down about all of that and about the wall. You know, I just can't see anybody but Trump leading our party. Now, you know, I like Tim Scott. I like Haley a little. And Ramaswamy. Okay. I like him. He's young and he fires back. His answers are like spot on. But he doesn't want to be vice president, he says. So I don't know. I see someplace in the administration for him, but you know, when it comes to that, because I think Trump has been paying attention to him. And
I want to interrupt you because while we're on the subject of Vivek Ramaswamy, I know that before the show, Zeke had some information. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, which I wasn't up to date on? Things happen so quickly.
Yeah. So, Peace and Telly, that's what it was. Peace and Telly came out and did an op-ed on Vivek, and apparently, you know, he was deeply involved with the pharmaceutical industry and some high finance stuff with the stock market, and apparently he swindled a lot of money out of billions of dollars. He basically shorted the investment stocks, which is just super unethical, blue collar crime stuff. And it's pretty bad. I don't have the full details. I can send them to you guys, but he hasn't answered back for it quite yet. He answered back on the Soros stuff, which is a good answer to me. I guess Soros' brother he got a scholarship from one of Soros' brothers for law school, which is like, okay, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. But the pharmaceutical stuff is pretty serious.
You know, I'd like to read that article that you're talking about. So email that to me if you can.
I sure will, sir.
I'll have to answer to it.
And the money he accepted was just 90,000. I thought it was 900,000, but it wasn't. It's 90,000. Yeah. So it's not that big in the scheme of things. But it was from Soros. That's what I didn't like. Regardless which Soros gave him the money, it's still, you know, if you get something from the devil, it's still the devil. Even if it's
the campaign season has begun, and you were talking about Governor DeSantis, and that's kind of a perfect segue. Because here in New Mexico, we lost the late Governor Bill Richardson.
Exactly. Yep.
And we just wanted to say a minute about that. Now, I wasn't living in New Mexico while he was governor. You were, Zeke, and I know politically I didn't agree with you.
Yeah, one thing is he's the one that passed medical cannabis in the law here, which is, you know, it barely passed with his vote. And so we have a medical cannabis program. We have cannabis here in New Mexico because of Mr. Richardson. I do respect him for that. However, he did spend a lot of time on MC's Zorro Ranch, you know, and for people who don't know, Gary King, our former governor, owned the land that Epstein bought for that. So there's been a lot of intertwining with our governors and Epstein for a long time here in New Mexico. And Mr. Richardson is a shining example of that. Also, he was at Bohemian Grove quite a bit as well. There's a YouTube video of Mr. Richardson being interviewed about Bohemian Grove, and he starts sweating bullets. It's quite comical. Yeah.
What's that? What's Bohemian? What's Bohemian? Well, what's that about?
It's a place. It's a place in San Francisco that a lot of what they call like deep staters, they go to annually, and they do like mock child sacrifices, mock human sacrifices. A lot of big time homosexual stuff goes on over there.
Holy.
All of the world's elites go there. It's basically a place where people say people get blackmailed, and Mr. Richardson is on record going there.
Wow.
Wow.
That would be a good story to come out, but
That's all I can say.
he can't sweat it out anymore because he's gone.
Exactly.
How about your politics over there? You have a referendum or something that?
Oh, yeah, I want to give you a quick referendum update, and things are going good. As we talked about it last week, basically we have a process here in New Mexico. There were some really bad laws passed, and what we're doing is collecting signatures. And what that will do, and this is any voter can sign these referendums. What this will do is put these laws on the ballot next year on 2024 when we vote again for the president, and you can vote to either keep it or lose it. So of course we want them off. We don't want them to be laws anymore. Right now they are present laws. And we really hope, if you know anybody in New Mexico who is a registered voter, please let them know about us. Probably if they go to Better Together New Mexico, that's a really good site, has great information. You can go to our Republican website. I haven't been there lately, so I'm not sure what they have on there, but it's really worth checking into for the future. Their parental consent bills, they're really bad about, they take away parental rights, and abortion, and just election integrity is also involved in them too. So I really hope that if you know anybody in New Mexico, or if you live in New Mexico here, think about signing these petitions, please.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just fine.
Absolutely. And then I just want to give a real quick shout out to our coalition of conservatives in action, because they meet every Thursday here in Las Cruces, and that is at Kitchen Craft over by Rudy's Barbecue on Tell Shore. I think it's 980 North Tell Shore. And we always have great speakers. We've got a local election coming up here in November. We have some good conservative Republicans running for the school board and also for our city council. So that's just kind of a little bit of update.
How's that coalition coming along? Is it, I mean, to you, is it strong? Is it getting more people involved?
Yes. The difference in that, it's most of us, I believe, are Republicans, and it's a group of conservatives. So you can be an independent, you could even be a Democrat and come to the meetings. It's fine, because we're all about promoting conservatism. These are people who they say they are. Juan Garcia is the chairman, and just today we had a city council meeting, and I didn't get to listen to it, but I understand that we have quite a few people that show up and they speak, and I got to hear one. Sarah Smith is among them. Sarah Smith is super knowledgeable about so many things. And all I know is I caught the tail end of what she was saying, and man, we had a lot of applause. So we're getting some recognition out there. Wouldn't you say, Zeke?
100%. Yeah, the group is getting bigger. We get about 50 people to our meetings on average now, which is, I think, huge. And I wish this would spread to Arizona. Something like this in Arizona, Maricopa, would be enormous, because you guys have so much power and resources there. If we can it's basically one way for Republicans to come together. As you know, Mr. Don Jorge, it's hard to get Republicans to come together.
Exactly.
But that's what I think the best success is with the group, is that you get conservative people together and focused. So hard to do.
Absolutely true. In fact, there is a group up north in the Albuquerque area. Corinne Rios runs that. And so, yeah, this could really work in any state, because it just helps bring conservatives together. And that's really what we're all about.
Focus on the mission, you know.
Do they allow like a podcast of the show, or they don't?
It's us.
That's where we kind of represent them. Yeah. Every once in a while, we need to start doing this again. We would go down there.
But I mean, you know, like sitting there and actually podcasting the show itself, the meeting,
I
you know,
because that's kind of I don't know that it's a public meeting, but
right.
It's something to think about. What might be good is if they wanted to do the guest speakers that are there, you know, that's something to consider. But we have had the chairman on when we were doing it, when we started our show.
Well, I know you did a podcast or two from there, because I remember seeing it, but I meant like, you know, letting a show like the Chips and Salsa show in New Mexico film it, and to let people know that things like that are happening in New Mexico, even though it does involve independents, Democrats, and Republicans coming together as Republicans or as conservatives. It would kind of open people's eyes and say, you know what, I'm a Democrat, but I don't have to vote Democrat.
And
I'm
George,
an independent.
I'm glad you mentioned that because we were for a while. We'd show up early before everything started, and then we'd interview Juan, or maybe I'd interview Zeke and just say, "Hey, come on down." So we'll start doing that again. I think that's a good idea. You got a girlfriend over there smiling at?
Yeah, they're waving. Our fan club out there. No.
Oh, got a fan club. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, we had nice fans out there. Hey, I just wondered about that because if we ever go out there, I wouldn't mind doing a Chips and Salsa show from the Conservative Center, because then we would set it all up prior to the meeting, and people would be told that there would be, filming of that. And but anyway,
about 10 more minutes with Mr. Zeke. He has to go to another obligation.
Well, Mr.
You think maybe you should go right now? That way it's not late.
Okay, but you're still planning the launch, and it's going to be a little later.
Yeah, we're still planning a big launch. Had some hiccups going on with the studio, but we're still going to plow forward with a conservative message and get everybody activated and involved. Love you guys so much. Thank you for having me for this, even for this brief time. It's always an honor being with you guys. I wish you guys a great rest of the show.
All right.
It's great having you. It's great having you, Zeke. We'll see you on the next show.
Okay, God bless everybody. Thank you guys so much.
Okay.
See you.
Grab a water if you need.
So, well, we had the meeting or the show last week, and they were discussing a referendum presented to, or a bill presented to the state chairman regarding our election, our preferential election. And since it's a Republican election for president, we have all the right in the world to change the rules. And it went before the state a few days later, September the 1st. And well, it actually didn't go. It was canceled due to what was said to be difficult hurdles that would have to be met by the Republican Party. And I don't think it was actually, he didn't put the call out to all the chairmen. Because the way
that Shelby explained it, it was really going to be up to the state chairman of the GOP there in Arizona, Jeff DeWitt, to decide what to do. And he could have called his team together, and maybe he did.
No, he
did put out a statement about that.
He put out the statement, but he didn't put out the call for the meeting, because in his statement there were a lot of obstacles that had to be met for the Republican Party and some legal issues. I don't know them all, but it was he turned it down, and people commented pro and con about it. So right now it's going to continue like normal. It'll be a preferential election run by the state on a ballot like we always do, other than last year, last election, 2020, where Kelly Ward ran just President Trump on the ballot because he was the only one running for the Republican Party. So we skipped the preferential election because he was already nominated to be the party holder for the primaries. This time there'll be probably 7 to 8 contestants, candidates running. Maybe 1 or 2 more, or maybe 1 or 2 less.
I don't know, George. We'll see. It's still quite a ways away. When is the primary there in Arizona? Is it August? Or is it earlier?
I believe it's around August. I have to check. Yeah, I think it's
a lot could happen. We could have some dropouts.
Well, we've already had a couple drop out, and but they're going to have, I think, 2 weeks. They're having another debate, and probably the seven runners are probably 6 to 7 are going to be on stage. The ones that we saw before, and no new ones, because a couple of them that weren't on there have already dropped out. So we're going to have to see what transpired. We have to listen to these guys and see what they have to say. They have to talk about the unemployment. They have to talk about the economy. Bidenomics is not working. Well, they have to talk about things like that affect the everyday people. Jobs are there, but people are shying away from jobs. Now they're talking about, I don't want to change the subject, but they're talking about masking up again. Jill Biden came down with COVID-19. I think it was
Oh,
yesterday.
let's talk about that for a second, George, because I find so interesting. All of a sudden, Joe Biden has COVID, right?
Yep.
Yet Biden today, I just saw him on TV, and he was out awarding a Congressional Medal of Honor. But he's out there with he was just with his wife, and they talk so much about being contagious and wearing a mask, but
Did she have a mask on?
Well, I didn't see her in the Photoshop.
No,
she didn't have a mask.
I think she's out of public view now because she's not going to be in public for a week or two because of that.
But they talk so much about that. What are they getting us ready for? I mean, I sound like put my little tinfoil hat on, but all of a sudden, boom.
I see something weird happening out here. We've had one of the concerts canceled for a week due to COVID, and there were 64,000 people that attended a concert, and they were all exposed to that. Not the fans, but the people behind the stage, because the lead singer who came down with it, he was without a mask, and he had to interact with the crew, with the security, with all the people around the back of the stage, which is a lot. And then all of a sudden, and we're going to have it this Saturday, the concert. And then all of a sudden, Joe Biden comes down with it, and then they're talking about masking up again. Fauci with that Dr. Fauci.
Fauci, you mean? That's a better name you call him, though. He's
advocating mask again. But I have an article here that talks about masks. It says one of the measures of wearing facial masks, either a surgical cut, a mask, or a banana, or an N95 respirator mask. When this pandemic began, and we know little about the virus itself, it was assumed it would behave in terms of a spread among communities like other respiratory viruses. But it says here only a very small number of people are at risk of a potential serious outcome from the infection, mainly those with underlying serious medical conditions in conjunction with advanced age and fertility, those with immune compromising conditions, and the nursing home patients near the end of their lives anyway. By wearing a mask, the exhale viruses will not be able to escape and will concentrate in the nasal passages, enter the olfactory nerves, and travel into the brain. And that was by a doctor who said that. And the article it goes on. It says,
what doctor was that, George? What doctor is that?
That was Dr. Russell Blaylock. He's an MD.
Oh, sure, Blaylock. Mm-hmm.
Blaylock. It is also instructive to know that until recently, the CDC did not recommend wearing a face mask or covering of any kind unless a person was known to be infected. That is, until recently, non-infected people need not wear a mask. When a person has TB, we have them wear a mask, not the entire community of non-affected. The recommendations by the CDC and WHO are not based on any studies of this virus and have never been used to contain any other virus, pandemic, or epidemic in history. And then people get headaches when they wear them because of airway restrictions, carbon dioxide accumulation, and really life-threatening complications. And then I'll end it with this one. There is another danger to wearing these masks on a daily basis, especially if worn for several hours. When a person is infected with a respiratory virus, they would expel some of the virus with each breath. If they are wearing a mask, especially the N95 mask or other tightly fitting masks, they will constantly be rebreathing the virus, raising the concentration of the virus in the lungs and nasal passages. We know that people who have the worst reaction to the coronavirus have the highest concentration of the virus early on. And this leads to the deadly cytokine storm in a selected number, whatever that means. The article goes on to read that they recommended you don't wear masks. And they said that people that don't wear masks are less susceptible to get the virus as people that wear the mask. And the people wearing the mask compound their the illness by breathing in their if they.
I mean, that makes so much sense. When I would have to wear a mask, and believe me, I didn't wear it unless I absolutely was made to for whatever reason.
Right.
But I hated those things. They're so uncomfortable.
Exactly.
And I always thought the same, just like he mentions in there. So you have this cover, and if it's and to wear it for hours. And you still see people driving in their cars all by themselves with a mask on. I still don't understand that.
And the thing is, when people try to talk and they're in the front of a stage or in a microphone and they got the mask on, you can barely hear what they're saying. And they just keep rattling away. And it's like, I just think it's so silly. And
I can get it too. Like maybe you're an older person, you're very sickly, you're very ill. So you go to church, there's a lot of people, and wear it for a little while. Okay, whatever. If it makes you feel better, and maybe you feel like you're protecting yourself. Okay, do whatever you got to do. But that's a really good article. We need to post that.
Yeah, that was by the American Post-Gazette. Yesterday, I was at a baseball game, and I was doing security. So I put this mask on. It was just covering my mouth, and I did it to
get a reaction.
Yeah, and I had it on most of the day, and people were like, they'd look at me and just smile, and it was like very polite. But then I let it go like just to the lips because it had a coyote symbol on it, so it's kind of, and it was a cloth. It wasn't N95 or nothing, but I just told people, hey, I was exposed to Metallica, and
that was at the concert that was canceled.
No, well, I was at the concert, but I was at the baseball game yesterday, and and I was wearing the mask because just to mess with them. But I don't believe in the mask. I don't prescribe it to anybody. If somebody's coughing in front of me, I'll back away from them. I'll try to stay away from the person coughing. Sure. I try not to touch stuff that they touch, because anything they touch is they could, pass the virus.
And you probably wash your hands a lot too,
right? And it's not, and that's one thing that the coronavirus brought. People started washing their hands. Mm-hmm. They started washing their hands more. They started
using sanitizer.
Using the sanitizer, and if you see somebody coughing a lot around you, then if you wear a mask, it's to protect yourself from that person, because if you get too close, you can breathe some of it, they're coughing in front of you and stuff. But I used to work in another place that it was a tight security office where 4 of us were. And whenever somebody was sick, kind of stayed away from them. And we would wash because we had to rotate every hour, every 2 hours, our positions. So we would wipe the table off where the next person was, just, and stuff like that. That's how you avoid getting sick. I noticed at school, not that much viruses were being brought home, but the kids were forced to wear those masks. I don't think kids should be forced to wear masks. And there's other ways that parents could avoid transmission. Is like, ask their kids, was somebody sick today at school? Yeah. Okay. Then wash your hands. And, were you close to them? There's things that we can do to avoid. And that's the common flu. It's not the coronavirus. But if you go to the doctors with the common flu, they'll tell you got the coronavirus because they get paid for every patient that they say had coronavirus. I went in there. I had the flu about a year ago, and I knew it was the flu. All I needed was medication, antibiotics, because that's what you got with antibiotics. Nope, not anymore. They say you got coronavirus. You got to stay home. I was like, for real? And it's not coronavirus. Coronavirus, you lose the sense of smell, the sense of taste. That's the real coronavirus, And I didn't have that. I had the common flu. but they're mistaking the common flu with coronavirus. I don't know.
Well,
Jill, go ahead.
You know what when they first started all this stuff, what always bothered me is they never talked about, why don't you get a little healthier? Why don't you take some, take a few vitamins and make sure you're in as good condition as you are. And then also now, if they're gearing up, we have open borders.
Yeah.
They're just letting everybody through. And they never, if you don't care about that, if you're so worried about things being contagious, take care of that.
And that's why we got the measles again and the chicken pox. They're coming from across the border because they don't get the shot that, kids get shot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of border, I just heard too that we had a record number in August, and a lot of big cities. I think it was somewhere in Wyoming. I think it was on the Chris Salcedo show. And they were talking to somebody in Wyoming and people were there. And the guy was saying, I don't know why they're coming to Wyoming because it's already 55 degrees here. It's going to be really, really cold. I mean, it makes you suspect. It makes you suspect what's really happening.
And I think the economy is really tanking. People are having a hard time buying homes now. The interest rates
are going up, right?
And the more they go up, the harder it is to get a loan because the price of the house has gone up. And the price of gas is ridiculous. It's at one station had it at $4.49 and it keeps going up. And
we're about $1 behind you. It's been since I've moved back here. I'll check every once in a while with somebody, and we're about $1 cheaper. But someone told me, I was talking to someone who had been in Oregon recently, and they said that the gas in California was cheaper. It was really strange. So I don't know what the heck.
No, I went to California.
We still don't have Trump prices.
No, I went to California, and that gas was really high. So
yeah,
I don't know what they're comparing it to.
It's really difficult.
And then we haven't heard too much about Hunter Biden, about his case. It stopped. I mean, it's like the news media doesn't want to talk about.
Yeah, they pick and choose whatever they want to talk about.
And then is impeachment coming? Is that coming into fruition? The Republicans aren't talking about. The Republicans need to get cojones and start taking over, the narrative.
But I tell you, Marjorie Taylor Greene, like we were talking before the show, she's really got some ovaries, and she's calling on. And there are Republicans who are calling for the impeachment of Biden. Right?
Yeah, I read that about her. I think, I think she's right. And there's the lady in where was it, Hawaii? That they wanted to impeach because she wanted to change some bills or something.
And poor Hawaii, I just saw a video, and this one guy was talking about how, I guess they gave families in Hawaii $700 a person, I believe. And then he compared, they goes, yeah, but that compared to what they have given Ukraine, which is the billions, things are just so messed up, really bad. George, I don't want us to forget to talk about, you did a really great job, the Laugh for Hope that just happened.
Yep. And we did a nice podcast thanks to our producer. He did a very good job, and it's on Rumble. If those people just go to Rumble and subscribe as a member, and you can watch the YouTube, and it's on YouTube, but go on Rumble and watch it unedited and on Rumble. Well, maybe just a little bit edited by our producer, but we were one of the sponsors there, as well as countless other sponsors. And their mission, and I'm going to talk about their mission here, is life-affirming medical services, health care for the uninsured, and defending life, educating the next generation by offering free pregnancy tests, well woman exams, SDT testing and treatment, IUD and implant removal, abortion pill reversal. And then they go on to help the young lady if she decides not to get the abortion, They assist in weekly hotels and rent to help the pregnant moms get off the street, the ones that are on the street. Women can see and bond with their unborn babies. They have this beautiful machine. It's or not a machine, but it's a truck that does ultrasounds, and you can see
The mobile
baby.
clinic. The mobile clinic is awesome.
And it's
I
the
saw
new
you
one. And,
go
it's
in
the
there.
new-
It's great.
and we did an interview from inside, and it was awesome. Women can see and bond with their unborn babies. And then they go as far as diapers and wipes, clothing, food, and transportation for these young ladies. So they give a lot of help for the young ladies, and they always need a little help. So if anybody still wants to, because of course the Laugh for Hope is over, but it's Life Choices Women's Clinic, and it's on 8326 North 7th Street, Phoenix, Arizona, 85020. They accept donations, and the donations go to help them and their cause for providing these needed diapers and wipes aren't free, and clothing, food, transportation isn't free. And they do all that, and hotels for the women to bring them off the streets, the ones that need a little help. So there's a lot of sponsors that are helping, but they need donations. So if anybody wants donations, I'm sure we'll put it on our website, and the ways to give is cash, check, debit, or credit, online, or on at one of their centers. Go to www.laughforhopephoenix.com. Again, www.laughforhopephoenix.com, and make an
And I think
online
that's
gift.
a number 4, right, George? Laugh number 4.
Oh, yeah. Laugh the number 4 hopephoenix.com. www.laugh the number 4 hopephoenix.com, and you make an online gift and make it payable to Choice Women's Clinic, and it's for a good cause. And always donations that you make for good cause you should always feel good about it.
But you did a terrific job going through and interviewing people and the different little booths that were set up.
Yeah,
and
we tried
shout
to
out to Eric. Shout out to Eric Williamson for doing that.
Oh, he did a great job. And
Did a really good job.
and we try to get all the sponsors and explain why they were involved in Laugh for Hope and with Women's Choices, Life Choices. It was great. It was great meeting these people. We met one of your friends, and she sent a shout out to you. I don't know if you saw that part.
Yeah, I saw that part. It was my good friend Alice Koenig, and I think you've actually met her before, George. She's come down
Oh,
to the
yeah.
show. Maybe you weren't there at that time.
Yeah,
you know, a few years ago. But yeah, she did a great job, and she's very active here. She, we didn't get to go this year, but next year, Mark and I are going to try to be there as well because I really missed it. How are the comedians? They're always fun.
They were good. They were good. They were good. They clean comedy. They had kids there. We interviewed some of the kids, and we got their opinion, about the show and stuff. I just think it was a great way to give back to the people that have been giving to them by having a comedy show like this, the Laugh for Hope. It was great. We'll be there again next year. We'll sponsor them again next year. And it's a great opportunity for us to give back to the community.
They're a wonderful organization. And the fact that they don't just help before the pregnancy or during the pregnancy, they continue on. And often when you go to these things, the fundraisers, then they'll have somebody come and tell their story of how they were helped. And it's just very inspirational. Can't say enough good stuff about them.
That's true. So coming up in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have a guest. She's running for the superintendent of public education against Tom Horn, and we'll see what happens with that. Next week, I don't know who our guest is going to be, but we'll have an interesting guest. We have
next week.
That's next week on the 9th. I believe it's the 9th. Yeah, I believe it's the 9th. And then we have.
And we'll continue.
No, the next week. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, and we'll continue to just kind of join you as we get ready to reboot the Chips and Salsa Show in New Mexico. And we'll do little things like that.
Yeah, next week is the 12th. So we'll have something on the 12th, but on the 19th, we have her name is Rachel. I think it's Rachel Alexander. I think that's
Rachel
her name.
again?
No, not Rachel. No, I put Rachel. Anyway,
We'll find out. She's running for office.
Yeah. And it should.
Walden.
Oh,
good.
Rachel Walden. Thank you.
Rachel Walden.
My producer's over there. He keeps us on
Eric,
track.
thank you. Keep us in line there.
Yeah. Her name is Rachel Walden. She's been a school board member for a lot of years, and now she's being endorsed by the outgoing. Well, she's running for water commission. She's not running for. Now I'm confused. Rachel Walden, it will be here as a guest.
Stay tuned.
She's running for Corporation Commission.
Commission.
Yeah, and then she's being endorsed by the outgoing what's his name?
Is it Jim O'Connor?
Jim O'Connor.
His term's up already? Wow.
I don't know if it's up, but he's not running for Corporation Commission, but he's endorsing her, as well as 2 or 3 of the other Democrats on the corporation are endorsing her. So she'll be a guest on our show. And then after that, we'll have the other guest, which is the school board member. So
good. That's going to be a good show. So that's next week you're talking about. That's
on the 19th. The next week.
The 19th.
The next week on the 12th, I don't know who the guest is going to be, but it'll be interesting.
Okay. Are you going to do anything special for 9/11? That's going to be.
I don't know.
That's a Monday.
Because we're going to be on the 12th. Monday, yeah, we'll be on the 12th, 9/11. We might do something on 9/12, but it's after. I don't know. I have to talk to the producer. Maybe we'll do something and pre-tape it and make it a 9/11 memorial of some kind. So
there you go.
We'll see what happens. And we'll see if we can do that. But we represented all our chipsters at the Laugh for Hope, and those that couldn't attend, we were there for you. The Chips and Salsa
Thank you.
was there, so people did recognize us as representing the Chips and Salsa show. And of course, when we're there, our chipsters are there. So just want to do that shout out to all our chipsters.
George, speaking about that same topic, I want to also remind people that coming up, and I meant to wear my shirt for that, but coming up is the 40 Days for Life. And
when
you remember
that?
Our good friend Nancy Brady we used to have on. Maybe Nancy would like to come on the show. And what that is you sign up, and I've already signed up, in fact, for here in Las Cruces. And what we do is we pray in front of abortion centers. As you know, unfortunately, here in New Mexico, abortion has no limits. There are no limits here. That's on the referendum. That's one of the, we're working on some different things like that. But don't they do a walk for life or something? Yeah, it's 40 Days for Life. So what you do is, for example, I signed up. So I think I signed up for Wednesday mornings. So every Wednesday morning, I'm going to be down there with my sister-in-law and some other women and men, and we have signs, we carry our signs, and we pray in front of the abortion clinic. We're on the sidewalk, everything's legal and all that, very peaceful assembly. And we do that to pray for the unborn and just, let people know about this. And so we do this for 40 days. And there's an opening mass that's going to be here on the 24th. You guys have something going on there too. So like I say, if you want, I can send you Nancy's number if you want to try to get her on the show. Nancy Brady's always very involved with that. And if she isn't, she'll turn you on to somebody who is. But it's really a good way spiritually to support the cause. You meet some wonderful people. And, we're pretty effective. I have to tell you, we're pretty effective. Sometimes we piss people off, but we're not to engage. Last year, we did have a man who liked to show up to these things and shout and make a ruckus. But we had a couple of priests that were going to show up for the next shifts, and I think they helped to maybe calm him down a little bit. I don't know. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that. So it's 40 Days for Life. There's a 40 Days for Life Phoenix I know they're on Facebook. You can find them there. And as I say, I'll send you the information, George, in case you want to try to have Nancy on soon, because that kicks off the end of September.
But they have a march, don't they?
Typically, it just depends what that city decides to do. You know, they have a kickoff march or kickoff mass.
Yeah.
It's you don't have to be Catholic to participate. You can be, of course, but you don't have to be.
Yeah,
so we'll keep you posted on that.
Yeah, send us that and we'll have her on the show. We'll try to have a representative on the show. Well,
excellent.
Our show looks like it's coming to an end. And I would like to thank Alice and Zeke. You know, he's not there, but we thank Zeke for being on the show and putting his input. It's always interesting. Zeke is that's why we call him the Zekeinator. He has so much information. And hopefully we'll have better news on the Republican front, how we're maybe starting to get along with the county and the state, because we need to get along as a Republican Party. We have to start getting our candidates vetted and getting them on the show. So I want to just say, if you have kids around pools, watch your kids around pools. It's still warm. They still gravitate to the pool. If you have pets and children, don't leave them alone in the cars. These are still hot days, and I know they're hot out there in New Mexico too. And
we cooled down a little bit more, but it's still hot.
Alice, we'll see you again and next week, hopefully.
Thank you, George.
And Chipsters, tune in. Have your friends tune in. We're on YouTube. We're on Rumble. Subscribe to Rumble. And
bye.
It's still in progress. We want you to subscribe to Rumble. It helps us. It helps you because you get notified when there's a Rumble broadcast. So or a podcast. Just like YouTube, when you subscribe to YouTube, you're notified that there's a podcast and you can watch it. Facebook, we got all our followers on Facebook. So these are just new mediums that were going on, and Rumble is unedited, and they don't punish
censor
us for what we have to say. And you know, us conservatives like to speak out. So anyway,
George, thank you very much for having Zeke and I on.
Oh, it was
appreciate
fun.
it. Chipsters, it's always good to see you. And, you know, stay tuned as we keep developing our Chips and Salsa Show partnership here in New Mexico, Las Cruces, New Mexico, and there in Arizona. Muchas gracias, George. Walk on. Yeah. Love that hat, dude.
Hey, thank you. We'll see you next week.
All right. Walk on.